Good evening. On behalf of the Preston County branch of the NAACP, we are grateful to all of you for being here this evening, and we hope that you will benefit uh, from, from being here to listen to our candidates and the people that are our future that will be serving us in the future. We want to thank WRXO and KIX. Mr. Bratcher, we will give you an announcement later on as to when this will be replayed back to our citizens at home. We're always thankful for them for having the opportunity to do this for our citizens. At this time, we're going to ask you to stand, and I'm going to ask Reverend Blackwell, Councilman Blackwell, if he would come.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Most holy and all-wise God, we come this evening, dear God, giving you the honor and the glory. We come lifting up your name. And Father, as we come, dear God, we pray, Lord, that something be said and done tonight, that you will be glorified. Father, bless each one of the candidates. We bless, dear God, the reason we are here. And Father, we pray, dear God, that you would touch and that we might get the information that we need. Father God, we pray, dear God, that you bless those that might be on the way, those that came. Father God, continue to put your loving arms of protection around us, guide us, and keep us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
When you are elected or appointed to an officer of the NAACP, you have certain things that you have to commit to. And of course, our vision statement, the vision of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure a society in which all individuals have equal rights and there is no racial hatred or racial discrimination. Our mission statement. The mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic qualities of all of rights to all persons and to eliminate hatred. The objective would be that the principal objectives of the association should be to ensure the political, educational, and social economic equalities for all citizens, to achieve equality of rights and eliminate prejudice among the citizens of the United States, to remove all barriers of racial discrimination through the democratic process, to seek enactment and enforcement of the federal, state, and local laws, securing civil rights, to inform the public of the adverse effect of discrimination and to seek its elimination, to educate persons as to their constitutional rights, and to take all lawful action to secure the exercise thereof, and to take any other lawful action in furnishing of these objectives consistent with the NAACP article, cooperation, and Constitution. Again, we thank you for coming, and we want to express our appreciation to the candidates, those who are here. We had some that could not come, either send us a letter or call, and of course, we are always grateful and thankful that you would do that for us. At this time, I want to introduce Johnny Lunsford. Johnny Lunsford is our political action chairperson. He's in charge of the program this evening. So at this time, I'll ask Johnny to come forward, and he will give you the instructions and guidelines that will take place going forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Ava has already indicated, that we welcome you to this forum, and we're glad that you have this opportunity to come out to meet your candidates and to meet those individuals that have taken time out of their schedule and willing to put forth an effort to serve the people of Roxbury and Person County. And to be able to come out this afternoon to give you a chance to hear them on certain issues, and also to be able to see them and know who those individuals are that you'll be voting on in the November 4th election. We have sent letters out to all of the candidates on the ballot. We have some that have responded to us indicating that they would not be able to be here because of a conflict. One was Larry Yarborough, the other was Don Stroud. Those are the only two that we have heard from in writing. So we will go right ahead with our format as indicated. Bob Trotter will serve as our moderator. Curtis Bratcher will serve as our timekeeper. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to have an open statement, and after that, they will be given some questions by the moderator. And at the end of the campaign, at the end of the program, they will also have an opportunity to make a closing remark if the time exists with the moderator. We will also like for you to listen very closely to the candidates and the answers they will give toward any questions that are being asked. To me, it's very important for the citizens to know who they are voting for and what issues that they are concerned about and what they plan to promote when they are elected. So at this time, we will turn it over to our moderator, Bob Trotter, and he will give the candidates time to make their statements. But before I sit down, we do have some candidates that are not opposed, and I don't see any of them here tonight, but I'm gonna go over the list, and if they're here, we will give them a chance to make a statement at the beginning. Is Wallace Bratcher present? Deborah Barker. Mark Galloway. Donald Stroud. If not, these are all the candidates that are running unopposed on this November 4th ballot. Bob.
Good evening, everyone. We will be following the roster, the calling of the candidates according to the ballot that's available to all of you. As John had indicated, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make his opening statement. Following the opening statement, there will be an opportunity for questions. And I'm going to, as each candidate finishes his statement, I would ask them to please stand and wait till the other candidates makes a statement, and then that's when I will call the question. The first area on the ballot is that for North Carolina State Senate. That's District 22. The candidates are Herb Gobert and Mike Woodard. Mr. Gobert, would you come forward, please, with your statement?
I want to thank the NAACP, officers and members, and citizens of Person County for inviting me to this event. It's indeed a pleasure to be here tonight. I am, just to make a slight correction for the moderator, I am Herman Joubert, and I am the people's candidate for North Carolina Senate District 22. I am a servant and follower of my Lord Jesus Christ. My wife, who happens to be with me tonight, and I have 9 children, 12 grandchildren, and 1 great-grand. I have a degree in general education, and a degree in business administration. Most of my work history consists of management and marketing, and I'm currently working for the Caswell County Public School System. My motivation for running for public office is to serve the citizens of Caswell, Person, and Durham counties as an accessible, accountable, and responsible representative of the people. My motivation is to serve you, the citizens. Thank you so much.
Mr. Woodall.
Good evening. My name is Mike Woodard, and it's been my great honor to serve the citizens of Person County along with Caswell and Durham as your state senator for the last 2 years. As your senator, I have fought hard to protect those things that Person County residents value: a strong education system that serves our children and honors our teachers, protections for our family farmers and timber growers, economic development that helps our small businesses and brings new jobs, fair pay and retirement for our state employees, clean air and water, and I was the co-author of the legislature's toughest coal ash cleanup bill this spring. But many politicians in Raleigh have stood in the way and fought against our values the last 4 years. And on top of that, they've tried to take away our ability to vote. But I've stood strong in the face of this adversity, remaining your advocate in the General Assembly for more jobs, better education, and an improved quality of life. In this upcoming election, you have a choice for strong, effective, and experienced leadership. And I respectfully ask for your vote for re-election to the North Carolina Senate.
I would ask you to hold your applause until all of the candidates are finished. On the House, I will start with Gobert again. Joubert.
Joubert, that's close enough.
Okay, Joubert. This past Monday, the NAACP, as well as the coalition of persons, went to the legislature to make a request that the governor called a special session to reconvene issues surrounding Medicaid. Would you support the reopening of the special session to address the issue of Medicaid? And if so, if you say yes, will you tell why? And if no, would you also indicate why?
Yes, I would support another session on Medicaid expansion. However, based on previous negotiations, that whole thing just kind of went to the wayside, and I think the reason being was because the General Assembly had a limited amount of funds that they had to deal with. When you're looking at a budget, your budget is based on scarcity of resources. And the Republican majority had promised tax reform, and that on the tail end of that there would be no additional taxes in this budget. So in order to keep their promise, they had to do a little bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to try and balance the budget. This was not an easy task. Now, I believe that because the federal government was asking the General Assembly to participate, the General Assembly was skeptical because ultimately that money had to be paid back. After 3 years in the Medicaid extension program, the federal government would back out, and then all of the payments to our senior citizens and our poor families would be required of our state. And again, when there's a scarcity of resources, folks, when we don't have the power the federal government has, we can't print new money, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. So we need to be responsible in the General Assembly with your tax dollars. And I believe your elected officials have been responsible. And I believe you elected them to be fiscally responsible. Now, when we start talking about raising taxes, we also have to consider the fact that there are a lot of people that are still either unemployed or underemployed. So the question is, where does the money come from? Have your parents ever told you money doesn't grow on trees? That's absolutely true.
Yes, I would support a special session to consider changes to the Medicaid program. The whole conversation gets lost in the long session last year, and we really didn't take it up at all in the short session this year. And it's an important enough issue that it's worthy of a special session for us to consider all of the options. Beyond the Medicaid expansion question, where we have 3 years of 100% federal funding, and after the third year, 90% federal funding, not 0%, let's make that correction, 90% federal funding, then that's only one of the issues. Second, and even more critical issue in my mind, is how do we provide Medicaid services across the state? You've seen a couple of different proposals, whether we go to the managed care system or do we go to an affordable care system. I think we have great health care providers here in Person County and all across Senate District 22, and to turn that apple cart over and to turn it into a managed care system, I think is detrimental. You've already seen 3 states who've gone to a system similar to what's been proposed for managed care, and they're trying to back out of that system now. You've even seen just this week Governor Kasich in Ohio embrace Medicaid expansion and an affordable care system similar to one of the other options and choices that we have. So beyond just Medicaid expansion, we've got to look at the whole system of how we provide care across this state. And I would throw in there mental health. Some of you have heard me talk about that. In this very room just a few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to bring together for the second meeting this year the mental health care providers in Person County. And mental health is an issue that has gotten overlooked in a lot of the conversations. And I would certainly want to have that conversation as part of any special session that we have. Here in Person County alone, last year you had 150 committals, either voluntary or involuntary, of mental health patients. That's an incredible drain of Person County resources, something that we need to address in this community. That's just Person County. Think about where we are across the state. So that's another one of those important topics. So absolutely would support a special session to address those issues.
I'm going to ask that you limit your answer to 2 minutes. I didn't make that clear because I have several questions for all of you. All right. The next answer is, would you explain your position on funding for public education? Mr. Wood, you first.
North Carolina has a history of funding public education, and it's one of the things that made us a great state and a shining light in the Southeast and indeed throughout the country. It makes up 56% of the state budget. Funding for public education, 50% of state budget. Sadly, in the last 4 years, we've seen dramatic cuts to public education by the extremists in the General Assembly. We've seen significant cuts in things like teacher assistance programs. We've cut those significantly back. We've seen the failure of the General Assembly this year to extend the continuation budget this year, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $400 million there, cutting this year $9.3 million out of the budget for at-risk students, $76 million of cuts in our textbook budget this year. And then you can get into very simple things like $3.3 million cuts to school bus maintenance. These things have turned our public school system into a second-class public school system. And sadly, a lot of these costs, when you don't fund things like school buses, are going to come back to you all on your county government. Your school board's going to have to come looking for that school bus replacement somewhere. And they're going to come knock on the door of your county commissioners, and then that's going to be your property taxes. So my feeling is that we have not funded education adequately by any stretch of the imagination for many years, but especially the last 4 years it has been extremely detrimental, and we need to make a significant change in how we provide for our public schools, one that serves our students and honors our teachers.
Ask yourselves this question. Are you satisfied with the student outcome in our current public school education system? I heard a no, all right? Is that one person speaking for everyone? Well, let me speak for me and for many others that I've had conversations with about our public education system. It is desperately broken, ladies and gentlemen, and we've been throwing money at the system for decades now, and are we getting the bang for our buck that we expect? I believe the answer to that question is no. We have to go into the system and fix it. Throwing money at it does not solve the problem. This is what I would propose. First of all, we have lost the community concept of education. Once upon a time, there were community schools. Now, schools have been consolidated. You see less parental involvement. Our frontline professionals, our teachers, are frustrated because they are being handed experiments and basically required to make these experiments work. First thing I would do is I would put parents and teachers that are frontline working with the students on a daily basis in the Board of Education, in a decision-making posture as well as policy building. This will be a start in fixing a broken system that's been broken for decades.
We've heard talks about unlimited restrictions which has negatively impacted job creation in Preston County. Would you be able to specify and identify those issues that you think which dampen or hinder the job creation, the restrictions that hamper job creation and businesses in Preston County?
First of all, government does not create jobs. It is the small business owners. When I say small businesses, I'm talking about those who hire 500 workers or less. The small business or small businesses hire 80% of the U.S. workforce. It is in the area of writing roughshod regulatory over small businesses, which basically cramps them, restricts their movement, and it steals from them the confidence that they need to expand. And by expanding, they would hire on more workers. I believe that we need to revisit the regulations and get rid of those regulations that are really unnecessary. Now, I understand that that businesses are sometimes, when it comes to safety, they may not necessarily be on top of things. But I believe that if we can loosen restrictions on small businesses, we will begin to see an increase in the job rate. Again, we have too many people that are unemployed or underemployed, having to work several jobs just to make ends meet. I think this is shameful, and we can do a better job.
Two of the things that limit business growth, not just in Person County, but all across the state, have been the flawed tax scheme that was introduced last year. It's a tax scheme that taxed small businesses more than it did large businesses. It's a tax scheme that hurt farmers by raising the threshold on which they had to pay taxes for their equipment. Talk to your small farmers, and they'll tell you. It favors corporate farmers, but it doesn't help your small family farms in Person County. Taking away the historic preservation tax credit. We don't have to walk but just a few blocks from here to find any number of buildings that would benefit greatly from having that incentive here. And we've seen all around Roxborough a lot of cities that have done a pretty good job using those tax incentives very well. I served on the Durham City Council for 7 years, and we use those effectively. And many of you all come to shop and eat and dine and enjoy leisure activities in Durham. We thank you for that, but we could be doing the same kind of thing here in Roxborough, in uptown Roxborough and throughout Person County. That tax credit was taken away under this flawed tax scheme. Those things are hurting the growth of small business significantly. We're talking about education. If we're going to continue to punish education, let's talk about the community college system. We saw community college tuition increase 27% in the last 3 years. That's direct impact on businesses right here in Person County and indeed all across the state. We're making it very hard for people to go back to get the job training skills that they need. And now this economic development scheme that we approved last year, we're a year and a few months into it, but it's not working. It's not working. The Department of Commerce has not ramped this program up. They took away a lot of the support in the local community and centralized it in Raleigh with a lot of bureaucrats running that. That's not what we need. You know a lot better here through your business organizations, through your chambers of commerce. You know a lot better what that is. This plan needs to be scrapped, and we need to come back with a plan that puts the focus on local businesses.
The last question is, what appeal would you make to the legislature to bring about changes that would provide more jobs to Person County?
Well, I think I touched on most of those in the previous question, but another one that I didn't get to, and I would make this appeal as well, is infrastructure. I know Representative Wilkins and I have fought very hard for some improved roads here. We've had some moderate success, but we're going to need a whole new approach to the way we fund our roads here, and particularly one that favors our smaller rural counties like Person County, like Caswell County. That certainly would be at the top of my list of things that I would mention in addition to those I mentioned in the first question.
Could you restate that question, please?
What appeal would you make to the legislature that would help generate more jobs in Preston County?
One appeal that I would make is that we should probably stop courting large businesses for a while and pay more attention to the small business owner. And again, to touch on infrastructure, one of the things that new businesses will look at before they will move into an area, and one key area is the area of education. How and where will they not only find qualified workers, but what kind of quality education do we offer to them? Some businesses that will move to a new area will also bring part of their staff with them. And they're looking at the tax structure, they're looking at real estate, and they're looking closely at education because many of these staffers are family people. So we have to take a very, very serious look at education and how do we provide for new businesses qualified individuals through that system.
We're going to improvise a little bit. We're going to give you a minute for your closing statements, each of you, a minute for your closing statements. Thank you.
Again, simply to say my name's Mike Woodard. It has been my great honor and privilege to serve the citizens of Person County as your state senator for the last 2 years. I've worked very hard. Many of you see me out in the community. I've been a strong advocate for those things that matter here in Person County. I would like to continue to do that work. I hope I've earned your vote on November. And again, my commitment to you is I'll continue to bring experienced, active, engaged, strong, and effective leadership as your senator in the North Carolina General Assembly. and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Again, I'm Herman Joubert. Please don't forget that. You've probably seen my signs out and about. Elect Joubert, North Carolina Senate. I'm a fighter, okay, by nature. And I've been fighting in the area of freedom and liberties for a lot of years. And I believe that good laws do not infringe on our freedoms and liberties. I believe that good laws should benefit everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. I plan to go to the General Assembly and revisit some of these laws and strongly urge that if they do not benefit the people, that we go back and take a careful look and do some revisions. Because I believe in empowering you, the individual, and empowering the community. Thank you for your support, and I will see some of you in Raleigh.
Now is the time for your applause for the two. We will now go to the House of Representatives. We have Mr. Larry Yarborough and Ray Jeffers. I understand Mr. Yarborough has sent replacement for him. Okay. You make your opening statement then, please, and identify yourself.
I sure will. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Kimberly Yarborough, and I'm here tonight to represent my husband, Larry Yarborough, who's running for the House of Representatives in District 2. He sends his regrets that he cannot be here tonight. First of all, let me say that I practice medicine and not politics, so I'm not in my comfort zone right now. This is pretty scary, and I commend every candidate here for having the courage to serve their community publicly. The reason I'm doing this tonight is that I believe from the bottom of my heart that my husband is the best person for this position at this time. Just for the record, I grew up in Roxborough, and when I left for college, like many of the young people going out into the world, I was never coming back to my hometown. The only reason we came back to Roxborough is that Larry fell in love with Person County, and it was he who convinced me to come back home and practice medicine here and to raise our family here. One of the reasons I fell in love with him is that he is one of the smartest men I know. He has a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering. He worked on the space shuttle. I like to tell everyone that he left his career in rocket science to marry me. He's worked in industry, he's started businesses, he's recruited physicians to Roxborough, including myself. He has served as a county commissioner, and he is the current chairman of the board of the Bi-State River Commission. He's very active in our community. In every endeavor he does, he researches the issues, he applies his research, and he gets things done. Believe it or not, we don't always agree 100%, but even when we don't, I know and trust that he will have considered all aspects of the issue and drawn sound conclusions to support his position. As the oldest of 5 children and the son of a World War II veteran, he was taught all of his life to be tight with a penny. He has had to work hard for everything he wanted from an early age, as his parents didn't have much to spare. He has always had a hard work ethic. He is a faithful husband, a great daddy, and a fair person. He will work hard for every person in this district, and he wants everyone to prosper. Please consider voting for my husband, Larry Yarborough.
Good evening. My name is Ray Jeffers, and I'm running also for the North Carolina House District 2. First, I'd like to thank my wife. She's here tonight, and she stood in for me at the PC Pride debate or forum. And I just like to thank her also because she's put up with a lot of mess these past few weeks. We had a lot of slanders and a lot of attacks, and I look at that as the fact that if I were doing my job, they wouldn't be attacking me so much, because you hadn't heard one thing about my record. My 6 years of being a York County Commissioner that they've been talking about. And so I just like to thank her and thank her for putting up with all that mess. And I'm glad I'm not running against Kim, and she's a lot nicer than Larry. But I have been honored to serve as your county commissioner for the past 6 years. I've served as the president, the only one from Person County, and the youngest out of 98 presidents of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And I'm the only commissioner from North Carolina to ever serve as the chair of the Rural Action Caucus for the National Association of Counties. Now, I say all that not to pat myself on the back, but to let you know that immediately when you elected me in 2008, I went to work for you. And my opponent has said that you should send him to Raleigh because he's a Republican and that they're in charge and he's the ruling party. Well, I'm not asking you to send me to Raleigh to rule, and I'm not asking you to send me to Raleigh to be in charge. I'm asking you to send me to Raleigh to represent you, and I'll do that to the best of my ability if you elect me on November 4th. Thank you.
As I explained to the previous candidates, you're allowed 2 minutes for the question, and the timekeeper will take care of that. Okay, the first question is, as I indicated earlier, the NAACP and the coalition of members had gone to legislative building on Monday, trying to seek approval for a special session to address the issue of Medicaid. And excuse me. Are you in favor of this special session? And if so, why? And if not, would you please say why? And the first answer would be Mr. Jeffers.
RCS gave us a bunch of questions the other week, and so actually part of that was the Medicaid. And so I'll give you that since they didn't ask it. But just to give you a few little statistics about the Medicaid expansion. First, yes, I would support that, and the governor said that he would do that, but he didn't. And he didn't do that because the Speaker of the House and the Senate Pro Tem told him that he would. But yes, I would support going back and also expanding Medicaid. If you look at the statistics, let's just look at some of our large hospitals or some of our, like UNC Healthcare, UNC School of Medicine. They provide more than $300 million in uncompensated care for non-covered, for people who don't have insurance. They estimate they lose anywhere between $75 to $85 million annually for the people that they treat. Now let's think about First Memorial. Many of you all know that hospital is now for-profit. Now you tell me if they continue to see these 500,000 that are across North Carolina, and I can't tell you how many in Person County, they continue to see those ones that don't have Medicaid, that don't have health care, and they're not going to get compensated for it. What does for-profit mean? They're for profit. If they're not making a profit, what are they going to do? You're going to see a lot of our Personians over there either laid off or you're going to see that hospital closed. And they need to open it back up. They need to look at this. Many of you all, this was during Mr. Lunsford's, and Jimmy was there, our current Chairman Clayton, when the State Association and County Commissioners worked out the deal where we swapped some of our sales tax for them to take over Medicaid. And I'm going to tell you, I believe the counties, we don't want it back, but the counties were doing a lot better job than what the state's been doing with it. And they do need to revisit that, and they need to look at that because it is a problem, and you got 500,000 citizens across this state that aren't covered, and that's not right.
I recently got some excellent advice on being a candidate's wife from a woman that I admire and I have respected for over 30 years, and that was Mrs. Dorothy Lunsford. She advised me that probably when you're in public and someone asks you to speak on your husband's behalf, that it's best to just keep your mouth shut. So since we didn't get the questions beforehand and I can't read you my husband's responses, I don't want to mess up anything that he might want me to say here. So I am going to take Mrs. Lunsford's good advice, and I am going to respectfully decline to answer any of the questions.
That is your prerogative, and no one has to answer the question, but I'm just going to ask them, and I understand what you're saying completely. Does it mean you're not going to ask the other questions either?
I would prefer not to if that's okay.
Okay, all right. Mr. Jeffers, would you explain your position on funding for public education?
First position I would have is actually funded, which they have not been doing. If you look at, I've been talking a lot about education, been talking about the lottery dollar. Did I get her 2 minutes too? No. I've been talking a lot. I've been talking a lot about the lottery dollar. If you know anything about the lottery, that was sold to us for what? For education. And they actually, when they made the law, they put in there that the counties would receive 40%. Now, under Democrats or Republicans, we never received 40%. We've been getting somewhere between 20 and 21% of those lottery dollars. So first thing I would like to do, when you go to Raleigh talk about education, is one, fund them, but let's work on getting that 40% language back into the law and actually sending them 40%, and then let's not just make it to where they only can use it for bricks and mortar. Let's open it up where they can use it for operating expenses, because we know that Person County and Granville County isn't like a Wake County. We're not building schools every week. So we need to be able to use that money for our teachers, for our support staff, for the materials they need. Go over there and look. If you got a child in school, go look at their textbook. The state's not sending nowhere near the amount that they were sending 4 years ago for the allotment for textbooks. Just go, if you got a niece, grandchild, anybody, look at their textbook and see what they're using. We need to fund education. We need to make sure that we put education as a priority, because I know from listening to Senator questions, a lot is going to be talked about jobs. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have the opportunity for those jobs, you don't have education. I was in a meeting last Saturday where it was concentration on HBCUs in the UNC system. 2,000 students did not meet the requirements to get into those schools this year because they raised the GPA and they raised the SAT scores. And what are those 2,000 students going to do? That goes back to what we were talking about with the community colleges. We've got to make sure we fund them as well when we talk about public education.
If elected, Mr. Jeffers, what would you do to appeal to the legislature to create more jobs in Person County?
First thing is to recognize that there are rural counties still in North Carolina. Actually, there's 85 of them. And we've been seeing a concentration of those jobs go only around Cary and Charlotte and Raleigh. They're forgotten about these rural counties. I mean, if you look at, you just look at the legislature and you'll see why. Majority of the legislators are from urban counties. We need a strong voice to go and speak on our behalf of rural counties. That's what I did when I was chair of the Rural Action Caucus at the federal level, and that's what I'll do if you elect me to the State House here to represent Person and Granville counties. The first thing we need to do is, like I said, recognize we all have always talked about the community college system in North Carolina and how great it is, and then they're just defunding it to where they're having to make cuts. How do you attract jobs to a rural area that you don't have people trained for those jobs? That works hand in hand. The first thing we should do is to first identify those type of jobs that we want to attract, and then get with our community college and our educators here in the county and get our children prepared for those jobs. Because there's no need me attracting the industry that we're not training our people to be employed there, and there's no need training for an industry that we're not attracting, because all we're doing then is training them to leave.
The last question is, what do you believe are the issues that have dampened business and job creation in Person County? Would you please specify?
First thing goes back, like I said, that they've forgotten about the rural counties. We've worked on several projects here lately that we've been trying to get industry to come here in Person County, and we can't get the state to do their part. And that's just a stone cold facts. People get upset and they talk about the things that we did with the Economic Development Commission, but the truth of the matter is we had an Economic Development Commission that was not meeting. Business was being conducted, but they weren't meeting. So how do you conduct business if you don't meet? So we reorganized. We got good people on that Economic Development Board right now, and they're working hard, and they've got several projects they're working on right now, but we just can't get the state to work with us. We've even heard the statement that we had possibly a mega site to come here to look at Person County, and we heard that they're not even interested in looking at mega sites. Is that because it's not going to be in Cary, or it's not going to be in Raleigh, or it's not going to be in Charlotte? First thing we need to do is to let them remember that there is still rural America, and there still is rural counties in this state, and that we are part of their citizens. Yes, we don't have the population that Raleigh and them do, but you pay the same taxes that they do, sometimes more. So why don't we deserve some of that interest in some of those jobs? They've tried to do everything they can to privatize commerce where they don't even know what they're doing. We even heard this week that one of the projects that we're working on, that they actually put a local person, like our ADC person, let them be the contact person for that. That's never really happened before. The state's always wanted to be the contact person with it. Why is that? Because they don't know what they're doing over there. They're let so many people go, let so many good people go, and they're trying to privatize, that they've just forgotten about us here in rural America.
Now we have your closing statement, and Dr. Yarborough, you'll have 2 minutes for your closing statement. Jeffers also.
Well, you guys can thank me for saving you a little time tonight. I always find it interesting because I'm always on that side of the forums that everyone up here, everyone wants the same thing. We all want excellent education for our children. We want great public safety. We want jobs. We want a community where our young children have places to go and things to do, and our adults and seniors have that same opportunity to thrive. The difference is how everyone wants to go about it. You have to decide what you think is the best way. Who do you think will be the most effective to get your community what you think it needs? I happen to think it's my husband, Larry Yarborough. So I would like to ask you to consider, like I said before, please consider voting for him in November. In early election too, if that's what you're going to do. Thank you very much.
Well, Ms. Lunsford taught Dr. Yarborough something. Mr. Lunsford taught me something. The first thing you do is ask for your vote, and that's what I'm doing. I'm asking for your vote to elect me to the North Carolina House. I've done my best to work hard for you since been serving as your county commissioner, and I'll do the same. And that's why I made the comment in my opening statements that one thing they hadn't attacked through this election, that's my record as serving as your county commissioner. First thing we did when I got on the board, we cut $7 million off the budget. Now, they did all the fact checking they could, and they even had our county manager do a chart for them, and all they did was prove that, yes, we cut over $7 million off the first 2 years of the budget that we worked on. Mr. Lunsford and Mr. Clayton were there. They know it. We've worked hard to bring jobs to this county. We've had over $400 million worth of new investments since I've been on the board. With the expansions we've had at Eden, Certainty, GKN, new jobs have been brought to this county. I've worked hard, I've rolled my sleeves up, and I believe that I'm the only candidate that's, if elected, that can roll their sleeves up on day one and then go to work for you. And so if I ask that you choose the best candidate. I've worked hard for you for the past 6 years. The only thing my opponent did when he was 4 years as county commissioner was expand this landfill in this county. And we know the whole issue around the landfill. And that's the only accomplishment he probably can hang his hat on since he was commissioner, other than voting no. So I ask for your vote on November 4th, or even Thursday if you go early, to send me to Raleigh to represent you. Thank you.
We now have the County Board of Commissioners, Tracy Kendrick, Kyle Purrier, who was absent, Donald Long, and Jason Toran. Mr. Toran will start with you, and followed by Mr. Long and then Mr. Kendrick.
My name is Jason Torrey, and I'm running for county commissioner, and I think I'm gonna breathe a sigh of relief for every other candidate. This is the third forum, and I'm glad everybody got a chance to hear everything we had to say, but I know we're ready to get to November 4th and get this all over with. But I was born and raised here in Roxborough. Me and my wife, we live in the southeastern part of the county, kind of close to Timberlake. We have 3 boys, and we love the county. I decided to run for this office in February because I guess I was tired of seeing a lot of promises being made and nothing really happening. I brought with me a copy of some of the goals of what we call the futures plan for Person County. And I didn't bring it here to call out, Jimmy or Ray or anybody like that who's on the county commission, but there's one candidate who is running who is a current county commissioner. And I look at this as being a big part of his record. We have, on the first page, you might not be able to see it, but there are a lot of blanks. We have a lot of good goals on this side that have been established, but 10 out of the 14 on the first page, nothing's been done. Second page, 14 goals, 9 of them have nothing done. Third page, 17 goals, 14 have nothing done. And not all these things have money attached to them. A lot of them just require effort, and just the willingness to do it. And Jimmy's trying to get these things accomplished. Ray's trying to get these things accomplished. They need help. And so that's why I'm running, because I don't want to see our county headed down a path that leads to nowhere. I'm tired of people running saying that, oh, I'm conservative. What are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. So I look forward to hearing everybody's answers, and I appreciate you having this forum, and I appreciate every other group having a forum that had one, because I know the community has gotten to hear more than they wanted to hear from all the candidates. You want me to stay up here?
Well, I'm a quick learner, so I'm Donald Long, and I'd appreciate your vote. I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this forum, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Folks, first off, I want to apologize, but after much prayerful deliberation, some things just need saying. The people are tired of negative ads. I have endeavored to deliver a positive message, to take the high road in this election, and discuss the issues, actions, or inactions of the board and what I want to accomplish: industrial recruitment, job creation, better educational funding, and fiscal responsibility. This past week, the Republican Party of Person County, which I have much respect for, ran an ad in our local newspaper, and I'm sure many of you saw it, concerning jobs. Now, that ad ran Saturday morning, and Saturday afternoon, Mr. Kendrick immediately called my home to sincerely apologize for this preposterous lie, and stated he was embarrassed that it had taken place and he was not aware that this ad was running. I believe Mr. Kendrick, and I accept his apology. He is an honorable man, a good man, and I'm proud to call him my friend. You may not like what he has to say, but he'll always tell you the truth. And after all, Martin said, the truth will set you free. I'm not a political science major. I am an accounting major. I graduated magna cum laude with honors. So what does honor mean? I look no further than the Military College of South Carolina. Most of you know it as the Citadel. On the Citadel's website, it says core values: honor, first and foremost, includes adherence to the honor code of the Citadel. A cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those that do. The commitment to honor extends beyond the gates of the Citadel and is a lifelong obligation to moral and ethical behavior. But yet, not another candidate or supporter called, not Saturday, not Sunday, not Monday, and not today.
My name is Tracy Kendrick, and I grew up here in Person County. With the exception of 4 years of military experience where I was in the Marine Corps, I've spent my whole life in Person County. I work for Duke Energy. Everybody's heard that up until now because we've had coal ash questions and things of that nature. My wife and I run a business here in Person County, so I am vested in this county. I'm running on 4 issues. Those issues are keeping our taxes at a base where we can afford them and where people don't have to sell things to keep their properties. I'm running on security, making sure that our sheriff and our fire departments have the things that they need to make sure that we stay safe. Economic development, trying to bring people here into our county so that we can support the tax base that we have. And the last thing is education. It's not the least thing, but it is the 4th thing on that list, because you have to have those 3 to make sure that you can have the money to do the 4th thing. I would ask that you vote for me when early voting starts and also on November the 4th. Thank you.
Mr. Kendrick, you'll be first. The first question is, would you explain your position on the Recreation Senior Citizen Facility?
I was a little worried coming here tonight because I didn't get the questions ahead of time like we did at the other forums, but this is one of the questions that we've talked about all along, so everybody's kind of versed in it. At this current time, I can't support a recreation center. We have spent money within the county for other endeavors, and as one of the candidates said before, the debtor is slave to the lender. And we in Person County don't have economic growth enough to support all of the things that we would like to do. I would love to have a senior center for our seniors to go to, and I would love to be able to support the athletic facilities. But at this time, we just don't have the money to do that, and we don't have the economic growth to do that. So at this current time, until we start doing better, then I don't support it. Thank you.
Mr. Long.
On the Senior and Recreation Center, we have the opportunity to make Person County the best place to live and raise a family, or to make it one of the worst. It's our choice by our vote. Every county around Person County has a public pool, a senior and recreation center, but not here, not in Roxborough, not in Person County. I say let us provide a safe place for our youth and our seniors, providing our young people a love of recreation and of self, and providing our seniors with a safe place to exercise both the body and the mind, providing cardiovascular training for our seniors and swim team activities for our schools. I'd like to take the rest of my time to go back to my opening statement. So what is a job? I looked it up in Wikipedia. A job is an activity, often regular and often performed in exchange for payment. A person usually begins a job by becoming an employee, or by volunteering, or by starting a business. The duration of a job may range from an hour, in the case of an odd job, to a lifetime. And I'm not sure what they're saying in that ad. Ms. Blaylock is a retired school teacher. Mr. Clayton is retired, but continues to work in a neighboring county and is a cattle farmer. Mr. Jeffers has his own dog training business and has spent the last month with his dog starring in a movie in Greensboro. Mr. Torian stated at last week's forum that he has his own business and substitute teaches. I work for our family business and manage our family farm too. We have timber and soybeans are grown on our farm. Our company offers stormwater, wastewater management, property management, backflow testing, and contract hauling. I put a little paraphernalia on the back there so you'll know I got a job. So is the local Republican Party saying farmers do not have jobs, or retired seniors have nothing to offer, or business owners are not worthy? The same party that says most jobs are created by small businesses?
I don't think I can top that one, but I do wish I had brought some business cards to put on the table. I said this at the last forum about the rec center. I don't believe things should be put up for a referendum on the ballot if you don't plan to follow through on the wishes of the citizens. And that's what happened with the rec center. It saddens me that we as a community have to continue asking candidates when we've gone to the polls and already made the decision ourselves. That fact should concern not just those of us who support the rec center, but those of you who don't as well, because next time it might be an issue that matters greatly to you. We need to move forward with it because, first of all, the temporary senior center is a liability, and if we don't do something else soon, that building's going to need extensive repairs itself. The issue is dividing the community, and quite frankly, it's a wonderful and necessary project, but we have more important things to deal with, and it's clearly creating a distraction. So I said, let's get it done and let's move forward.
As county commissioner, what would you do to attract more jobs to Preston County? Mr. Toran, you're first on that one.
I didn't get the question in advance, but I did try to anticipate as many of them as possible. So how to create jobs in Person County? I think for one thing, we have to change the way we're approaching economic development. I'm a proponent of the idea that we need to worry less about attracting 50 jobs tomorrow that'll be gone 2 years from now, and more about making this a community where businesses want to be. We got to improve our branding. We have to embrace entrepreneurship. We have to use our schools to improve the overall appeal of our workforce, and we have to graduate a more skilled high school graduate and continue increasing offerings at PCC, offerings that match up with what expanding companies are looking for. And in order to make that happen, we have to be focused on economic development. And we've gone on for years not being focused until recently. It's no big secret as to why our RTP neighbors continue to thrive and we struggle. They put their money where their mouth is. They invest in economic development. We don't do that. Sometimes we don't have the money to do that, so that's understandable. But we have some work to do as far as getting our team refocused back on the same page of creating jobs for Personians. And I understand there are other issues as well. A couple months ago, the state legislature took away millions in business incentives that greatly benefited counties like ours, and they need to be brought back. But it all boils down to regaining the focus. But again, we're headed in a better direction now. Our Economic Development Board years ago wasn't meeting regularly. It is meeting now. It's getting some good things done. But we still have a lot of work to do to get our stakeholders all back on the same page and pushing in the same direction, and that's jobs for Person County.
I would say a favorable tax rate. Believe it or not, one party does not corner the market on fiscal conservative values. And don't take my word for it. Look no further than all the new fees that were imposed by our General Assembly this summer, or the $1 billion highway bond proposed by our governor last week. Yep, that's $1 billion with a B. And the funds will be spent in places like Charlotte, Raleigh, and Wilmington, but not here in Person County. Person County needs highway funding too. Person County needs to keep our tax rate as low as possible to remain competitive. And all 5 commissioners have held the line on no tax rate increase over the last 6 years. And I'll endeavor to do the same if elected. No one wants to raise taxes. We need to identify property for acquisition, to begin planning for an industrial park, for industrial recruitment to increase our tax base by new facility investment in job creation. We must recognize the city of Roxborough as a valued partner of Person County. And going back to my opening statement, I've got 2 questions. Will the local party call for the responsible person who placed the ad in the paper to publicly resign? Will other candidates publicly come forward? Will Hades freeze over? Like Mr. Kendrick, you may not like what I had to say, but I'll always tell you the truth.
Look around. Person County's not Wake County. Person County's not Orange County. For too many years, we've had economic development that tried to be Wake County, tried to be Orange County, tried to be Granville County. And we can't be those. We don't have the road infrastructure to support the things that Wake County and Orange County have. But what we do have is natural resources. We've got lakes, we've got Duke Energy, we've got tobacco, we've got VIR, and we've got all of these things that our local people have not been using to create an infrastructure to create jobs in Person County. So my thought is to take what we do have and not what we don't have and use those to create jobs in Person County. We just heard the other day on the news that one of the medicines that went for Ebola treatment was tobacco, had tobacco in it. Why can't we use tobacco here for a good purpose in Person County? We have it here, we grow it here, why can't we make it into something here? We have the lakes up here that don't have any kind of infrastructure on it to bring people from outside of our county into our county and help with our tax base. We have VIR right across the state line, and we're not taking advantage of that. So we have things around here that can help us with economic development. We have things here with us that can help us create jobs. The other thing that I want to bring up to you is education. Too long, we've had our community college over here not only trying to push people into college career paths, but we need to take it back to what it was designed for and create job training for people. We need plumbers. We need electricians. We need mechanics. We need taxidermists. Why can't we help these people in our community get jobs, and train them so that we can have them for our job base.
I thought I could do without it, but I can't. Do you think the relationship between the county government and city government is as strong as it should be? And if not, how would you work to improve it?
The short answer is no. For too long, we've been looking at the paper and seeing where there's adversity between the two councils. And we need to start a new relationship and start working together so that we can get things done. We see in federal government and we see in state government all the time the adversity that they have and the backbiting and the fighting that they have, and they never get anything done. So my thing is you have to start out with a vision. When you get two groups of people together, if you don't have a vision, you go nowhere. So getting those two groups together, writing down a vision statement, and working towards that vision is what we need to do. Communication is the key to all of that, and we haven't been communicating back and forth. I don't know whether some people's feelings have been hurt and they don't want to move forward or what it is, but my key thing is to communicate and make sure that we get a vision statement that we both can agree on and work from there.
I agree, the answer is no. We need to have much better relationship between our city and our county governments. As the prosperity of Person County goes, so goes Roxborough, and vice versa. As the prosperity of Roxborough goes, so goes Person County. For industrial development, Roxborough has all the water and they have all the sewer. But we've got to work together. We're not that big of a county. I'm not sure what all the issues are, but I think, like Mr. Kendrick said, if you have a vision and you sit down and you discuss that vision, break bread together, meet more often, I don't see why we can't work it out. It's not that difficult. But no, we do need to improve our relationship between our city and county government because we're all joined at the hip at the end of the day.
All I can do is echo exactly what they just said. The relationship could definitely be better between county and city government. Again, like I said, I can just echo everything they said. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know if it's something personal. I know it. Part of it goes back to some of the things I said earlier. The rec center, that created a little bit of a divide. There have been other issues like that, but again, maybe as Mr. Long said, we break bread together and work on a vision statement like Tracy said. Maybe things will get a little bit better, but at least you have 3 candidates here who are interested in doing that, and that's all I can say.
The last question is, would you support closing personal industries or the recycling center? If yes, why? Start with you, Mr. Torres.
Again, this is similar to a question that we had at the PC Pride Forum last week too. I am a big supporter of the recycling center and Person Industries, and I would not support closing it. I said it last week, I'll say it again. I think it's an example of what Person County is doing right by providing meaningful jobs for disabled citizens who otherwise, wouldn't be contributing the way they are to the community. So I absolutely support it. Was there more to the question than that? Or? No. Well, I support it. That's all.
And you said why?
Yeah.
You said why. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the second part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said last week, I won't dance around it. I do support Person Industries and the recycling center. My sister was a former client at Person Industries. Person Industries and the recycle center, I believe, have approximately a $2.6 million a year budget. Of that budget, $400,000 is derived, or approximately a little bit less than $400,000, is derived from property tax dollars. The rest of that budget comes from state and federal grants and mental health grants. So if we close that center, we would not have a $2.6 million reduction to our county budget. You would only have a $400,000 reduction to the county budget. And that's not nothing to sneeze about. I'm not saying only $400,000. But that $400,000 is providing over 100 jobs. It is operating a recycle center. They have worked very diligently. My understanding is that their equipment is about to be paid off. And the difference between what we were paying in rent per year, I believe about $107,000, and what the mortgage payment or depreciation schedule is for that building will result in approximately a $200,000 reduction to their budget. So they've already cut their dependence on tax dollars almost in half within the next 12 months. I do believe they need to work very, very diligently to become revenue neutral and not depend on any tax dollars. Thank you very much.
I'm not and never have been in support of closing the recycle center. As I stated last week, I've reduced my trash at my home and my wife's business by approximately 99% by using the recycle center. And I don't pay anybody to do that for me. I do it myself. I go by her store, I pick up her recyclables, I take them there myself. And I've canceled my trash business because I don't have any trash left over. What I do have, I either throw it in my father-in-law's bin or I take it to work and throw it in a bin there. But I didn't support purchasing the building. As Mr. Long said earlier, there may be a reduction in the amount that we have to pay per year for that facility. But we also took that property off the tax books, and that's something that nobody looks at. That property was giving us an asset at one point, and now we're not going to get that asset in tax dollars back. So, no, I don't support closing the recycle center, and I do support Person Industries going there and doing the work. But we also need to remember it's not just $400,000. That other that makes up the 2.6 is your tax dollars too. It just comes from a different place, okay? We send it to federal government. Federal government sends it back to us after they take about 20 cents off the dollar. So it's not free money. It's your tax dollars that's gone somewhere else and came back here. Thank you.
Now, for your closing statement, you have 2 minutes for 1 minute for a closing statement, and we'll start with you, Mr. Kendrick.
I'm Tracy Kendrick, and I'm asking for your vote in early voting and on November the 4th. We've had enough forums. We've had enough recordings. I think you can go on YouTube. If you missed any of the other forums, you can go on YouTube and find these forums. I found them very interesting. I hope you'll go there and look at it. Maybe you'll hear something in those videos that changes your mind or helps you decide who you want to vote on. I come before you now to say that I didn't run because I'm prideful. I ran because I thought there were things that needed to be done in Person County, and I felt like I was the person to do it for you. Thank you, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Again, I'm Donald Long, and thank you for coming out tonight. As we enter October, the days until the election day are dwindling fast, and the momentum of this campaign is building at a tremendous pace. And all across Person County, people understand it's time to move forward. It's time for some change. I would appreciate you to come out in early voting or in November, on November the 4th, and vote for Donald Long. I will work hard for you, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Again, I'll thank the NAACP for having the forum and every other group that had forums over the last few weeks. But I want to leave everybody with a little bit of homework and maybe a little bit of a challenge. I want you to think about what's going on with the rec center. I want you to think about the Helena Steering Committee that we heard about a few months ago. And I want you to go online and look at the futures plan and, look at some of these blanks. Look at what it says beside some of them. And I know Mr. Purrier is not here, so I hate to even say anything, to call his name out. But ask yourself, has he done what he should be doing to push those things that I just mentioned forward? I ask that because I want the future to look like something besides this. I don't want our future to be empty. So if you feel the same way, you have a chance to change that on November 4th. I'd appreciate your vote.
Let's give him a hand, please. Our last forum will be with the Sheriff's Department. We have two candidates, the incumbent Dewey Jones and David Brooks. We'll start with Mr. Jones with an opening statement of 2 minutes.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here tonight, and thanks to the NAACP for hosting this. I am Sheriff Dewey Jones, born and raised here in Person County. My public service career spans 31 years, 27 years of which has been in law enforcement. 8 years has been as your sheriff. Being sheriff has been the highest honor I've known. I was the first elected sheriff in 2006. I was re-elected in 2010, and I am currently seeking the third term. The support and cooperation the citizens have shown our office is what makes Person County a special place to live and to work. We also have a great staff that I am very proud of. And we've had many accomplishments and that have been made within our office. One of which is by reducing the crime rate by 20%. And we want that trend to continue so that we can make Person County a safer place to live, work, and play. With your continued support and vote on or by November the 4th, I look forward to continuing to serve as your sheriff of Person County.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Before you start my time, I think that I need to clear the air because this description about Democrat and Republicans going in the newspaper I didn't read. Now, I am a registered Democrat. I'm a registered Republican, but I'm not affiliated with the Democratic Party in Person County, none whatsoever. This is what I was told by the Republican Party. So whatever's in the air between the Republicans feel, don't tie that to me in your voting. I want that clear from day one. Now, if my time can start, okay, well, my time has started. Well, I seek what I'm here for. I'm going to serve and protect every single citizen in Person County. Whereas of today, I've been having all kinds of remarks. I want to take my 2 minutes. I want everybody to take a look at these to pass them, if you would, please. This is a tombstone. My sign was chose and was passed, put out. My name is on tombstone. And I've gotten these remarks from all across the county, and I think everybody should take a look at it. This is the year 2014. This is unacceptable. I did call Sheriff Jones this morning. He did not come over, but he did send a representative over. I called Chief Borscher. He did not come over, but he sent a representative over. And everybody thinks it's just vandalism. It's not vandalism. It's a disgrace. It's a threat to my life. It's one to make my wife uncomfortable be at home alone. So I'm going to seek further to have something done about it. And I think each one of you would too, if you put anything out and it's turned over, looked at, and a tombstone is beside it. That's unacceptable in year 2014. Now, with that being said, I'm David Brooks. I'm going to be the person that's going to lead you to safety, will protect your children, protect your family, and will protect each area of Person County. Mr. Jones has stated earlier this last week that he had additional calls to his force. And you know what, if we're going to use additional calls, let's put them in every single corner of the county and not just on the south side. David Brooks will change the way Person County is performing by way of the Sheriff's Department and will restore dignity and respect in Person County. Thank you.
The first question that would go to Mr. Jones. What would you consider the top priority for the Sheriff Department?
Drugs is and has been the #1 problem in Person County. I said that when I started to run for sheriff in 2006. We have put great effort out in enforcing the drug laws. We have actually done quite a few campaigns, and I've always said that all crimes are committed or surrounded, at least about 95% of them, you can track back to being related to drugs. So we've tightened up on the enforcement on that, and that is one thing that has brought the crime rates down. Another thing I did do to help to make Person County a safer place, we did restructure the organization the way it was designed. We actually got more officers on the street, and we do have officers assigned north side, south side, and central, with a sergeant that's actually roaming in between. We have K-9 officers that goes all over the county, so we make sure that all areas of the county are covered.
Priority for the Sheriff's Department, we want to label it drugs. If drugs is our main problem, then we have got to stop looking at people that's only got $20 worth of drugs as a drug dealer. We've got to reach up to people who has the access and the means to bring kilos of cocaine in here and distribute it. Now, reports shows that we sent 134 people to prison last year. 131 of them was returned. 68% of the 134 were the ones that we sent last year. And the bulk of those were supposed to be drug dealers. We have a problem in our system as to who we call a drug dealer. No, when Mr. Jones is going to retire arresting the same people for drug dealers. There's something wrong with that picture. Now, he did it the first term, and we accepted it. And whatever he fell short on, that was his responsibility. He did the second time, bring the same people back before you and said he's got drug dealers. That is our responsibility. Now, if we allow him to have a third term with the same people, who are you going to blame? No, I'm going to get somebody brand new, somebody who's qualified to bring kilos of cocaine into Person County and put it in our young adults' hands and distribute it. While we send them to jail and let the bigger people go free, it's disgusting.
Person County is a rural community, and there's been much talk about traffic, cars going beyond stop school buses. And what would you do as sheriff to try to deal with this issue of cars passing school buses that have stopped them with their signals on?
I think everybody knows where I stand about crime. First of all, I honestly believe that an individual that run a stop school bus sign is either a very inexperienced person or a person who's intoxicated. Experienced drivers, this is something we all learn to respect. But answering your question, if you run a school bus stop sign, I think the maximum punishment is 8 points in your driver's license. You will, if I had anything to do with it, you will get the fullness of that punishment, because we have got to be responsible and protect our future, which is the children just riding that school bus at any cost.
Well, as sheriff, I was privileged to be a part of going out to the school bus garage. The initiative they got out, and actually the governor, they're trying to actually get it in all buses now, but there are actually cameras now placed periodically throughout different areas to help to catch these people. Actually, the meeting we had on this, they had showing an example. They had just put it on a bus and was coming down Main Street, and the camera takes pictures front, side, and back. As soon as it come up on the screen, I knew who that person was. We was there, Highway Patrol was there, the city police was there. They was able to go out and to get that. It is a problem. It is very dangerous. We've heard way too many kids being killed this year waiting for school buses. We definitely have to work together as a team to bring this. Our job is to arrest them, and then we turn them over to the court system for the prosecution.
So much time in me. We've seen a lot of the arrests with reference to the drug dealers. What new initiative are you planning to initiate, Sheriff, to try to improve the eradication of drugs in Preston County?
What I was talking about a while ago, the people that are committing the crimes, they are not actually your drug dealers. They are your drug users. That's the reason we put so much emphasis towards the actual users. We have people assigned to many different areas in this county. We go after the users to try to gain informants to get to suppliers. We get that supplier, every time we arrest somebody, we work up the chain of command. A lot of people don't even know it, but I have an officer that doesn't even come into Person County. He is stationed in Raleigh. He's working for East Coast DEA, Drug Enforcement Association. We have been a part of a 119-kilo takedown. We can't make this public to our local papers and like we do some of the others, but we're hitting the drug dealers at all levels, and that's what it takes, and we will continue to do that. We've actually, in the last 4.5 years, we've taken in, drug dealers have to pay money, taxes on the drugs that we actually seize from them. We're taking that, we get a portion of that, right now, we've gained about $500,000 from drug dealers here in this county. We continue to fight all levels of it, and like I say, yes, there are repeat offenders. Only thing I can tell our guys is you may get the same ones over and over. We're doing our job by arresting them and bringing them to court. After that, it's out of our hands, and if they come back, we'll arrest them and put them back, because we won't tolerate it.
I've learned over the years that any way to get a hold of anything is that we need to be set up a friendly basis. And right now, our sheriff department is not trusted by the general public. So if we had a better communication between public and public service, then this will eliminate a lot of our problems. When our drugs come in, Mr. Jones said $500,000. With that kind of number, I find it hard to believe that the public don't know anything about it. You only hear that form. You know, we have got to have public and public safety to have a better relationship. Our crime rate, whether it's drugs, whether it's theft, everything is going to escalate as long as our young adults and our children stand with the fear of public safety in their heart. I read an article not long ago that Person County was 50 years behind time. If we're operating 50 years behind time, we're not operating fairly. And we need to stand up as people in this county and demand that it operate fairly. And it has to start with the people who are in authority. And one of the highest seats in the town is Mr. Jones. Now, I'm not saying he's not a fair man, but if he allows his workers to be unfair, then it's on him.
I will ask a question. Sheriff Jones, how would you work to diversify the enforcement staff to be more reflective of the Person County residents?
We actually talk about this from time to time. I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know if you know the actual breakdown of the county, but we are very close to the breakdown of Person County the way it is. We recently had a position that was open, and we went through our pool of applicants, and we accept applications every day. First of all, we want people that are interested in the job, qualified in the job, and it doesn't matter what color they are or what sex they are. We take the applications and we go through them. But we recently had a position that was available. We contacted 4 different people and see if they were still interested in a job. In the beginning, they were, but the day of the evaluations, we was going to go through it. We come down, and we only had 1 applicant that was interested in the job. So I'm always open to anybody that wants to work, be fair and equal to anybody. And like I say, our numbers right now throughout, with part-time and full-time, is right at 100 employees, and our percentages are less than 3% off the reflection of Person County's makeup.
I would find it important to visit academies because Person County stands indeed in need of an employee on the Sheriff's Department as a deputy, as being in the Hispanic world. We have an amount of Hispanics here who we can barely understand or they can't understand us. It's only fair to them to put somebody on the force that can relate to them can understand the language. I listened to Mr. Jones, and I hate to keep bringing what Mr. Jones say, but the individual that Mr. Jones hired out of the 4 people, ironically or coincidentally, was an individual he fired 4 years ago. And this individual ended up with his signs and advertising all around his property, and all of a sudden he qualified for the job. I think there are other people that I would have considered had it been me, just knowing this was a touchy situation. So you have to be real about stuff if you really want things to work. We all like to cover up, and we all like to think we're right. But then the reality of it is we all make mistakes. And the best way to get out of a mistake is to admit it, apologize, and move on. That being said, my first move would be to bring in a Hispanic so we can stop trying to hire an interpreter. I think an interpreter costs somewhere around $32 an hour. We might can employ somebody for $17 or $18 an hour. It just makes sense to have him on hand when we need him versus to look out to get someone who set their price for the job.
Mr. Brooks, you have 2 minutes, 1 minute for your closing statement, followed by Mr. Jones.
It's simple. I'm asking you to put somebody in the circle who's not part of the circle. I'll have an eye to watch the circle and make sure people do their job for real, for every race of people, for every nationality of people, and for the entire county. Now, you've never tried this, but it's time to try something new. You're worried about experience. I'd have to leave you with this one. When Mr. Jones applied for the job, he wasn't an experienced man. Mr. Robert Bumpus had more than 28 years of experience, and we chose Mr. Jones. So we're not afraid of inexperienced people. This time I'm telling you, take that chance. Take somebody who you can trust. Mr. Jones and I, we will have the same rules to go by. The difference will be is our interpretation. Now, I'm sure he can read the rules and I can read the rules. I'm sure you've seen his interpretations. Take a look at mine. Restoring dignity and respect and trust from the communities back to the Sheriff Department and making it safer for us in Person County. Thank you. Vote David Brooks.
Again, I'd like to start by saying thank you for the cooperation and the support that you have given. What has happened at the Person County Sheriff's Office is not a reflection of me, it's a reflection of myself and the community and everybody working together. We have made a lot of changes in the Sheriff's Office. We have brought it up to the 21st century where it needed to be. It was way behind. I'm very proud of everything that's going on. I always have an open door policy. There's lots of things that go on. I never dreamed I would be behind the desk as much as I am as a sheriff, but their duties and the times have changed. I continue to ask you for your support and ask you for your vote. Please vote Dewey Jones for sheriff. Thank you.
Sure.
As excuse me, as the moderator, I want to thank all of the candidates who have respected the rules of our forum and have given forth the information that we hope will be beneficial to the people who listen to them. And I want to thank you again personally for your commitment to serve in Preston County. Thank you all. Mr. Lester, turn it to you.
Let's give our moderator a hand. First, we want to thank all of you for coming, those that are candidates, and of course, those of you who are here as interested citizens. Again, we want to thank WRXO, what's that, and KRX, for recording this for us and making sure that our citizens in the community will be able to see. And after we take a look at it, that we will be able to make a choice. And that's what this is all about. Make an intelligent decision as to who we would like to represent us. Tomorrow night, you can hear it all over again at 8 p.m. If you missed something tonight, you didn't quite understand, you can listen to it on the TV, watch it on TV, and listen it all over again. Mr. Bratcher will be playing it for us. It'll also be played again on the night before the election, which will be November the 3rd. Here again, if you haven't made up your mind and just need to listen again to what someone may have said or didn't say, you have an opportunity. So, Mr. Bratcher, we thank you. Thank you on behalf of the citizens of Person County making this possible for us. We want to thank all of our candidates that are here. We appreciate those that are not able to come, but they had respect enough for the citizens of Person County to inform us that they could not come. We appreciate that. We had a few that didn't come and didn't respect the citizens of Person County enough to say they were not coming. I think that's not respectable. It's not showing moral values, and certainly it's disgraceful to the citizens of Person County to treat them that way. If you're running for a public office, you ought to let the people know what you stand for. You ought to be man enough or woman enough to stand here and tell them about you and what you would do to help them as they continue in life. Voting start Thursday, the 23rd, October the 23rd, and Friday, October the 24th. That would be at Person County Board of Election office. Be there from 8:30 to 5. Saturday, October the 25th, from 8:30 until 5. Monday, October the 27th, to Friday, October the 31st, at 8:30 to 5. Saturday, November the 1st, 8:30 to 1. And of course, on November the 4th, and what is that, 6:30 to 7:30. So you have plenty of opportunities to cast your vote, and that is important. So please do so. 2 sites, Person County Board of Election, and of course the old Helena School lunchroom. So please go to one of those, regardless of what precinct. Regardless of what precinct you're in, we'd like for you to, you can go and vote at either one of those locations, okay? I would like to say this. I know that the laws have changed somewhat, but as a request from the NAACP, I would like for, if you go to a precinct and you're not registered or they cannot find your name, you want to ask for a ballot to vote. And we know that it possibly may be rejected or will be rejected, but we want to know how many was rejected. So please do that. Ask for a provision ballot. They must give it to you, and once they give it to you, they have to make a record of it, that they received it. And of course, we are asking that if you would like to do that, you go to a precinct and they won't let you vote, make sure you get a provision ballot, ask for it. And they should give it to you. If not, we're going to have some 800 numbers that you can call, and we will get someone on it immediately. No ID. They may ask for it, but that's fine. If you want to volunteer, give it to them, fine. No one should force you for an ID. The word is out there that you got to have an ID. That's the press to vote. We know what that is. You do not have to ID. They ask you for it, show it. If you don't have it, vote. You still vote. Don't leave until you vote. Okay? Again, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming, and let's stand for Father, we ask you to dismiss us from this place, but not from their presence. Amen. Amen.